What happens to cars after they've featured on a special with the trio? You'd hope that they'd get brought home and fixed up and restored, but often it seems that is not the case. A couple of years ago, I filmed a video that covered the fact that the cars from the original Top Gear Africa special had been found. Well, two of them had. Jeremy's Lancia Beta Coupe and James May's Mercedes E-Class, with Oliver obviously being in the possession of Richard. And Reddit has come up with the goods yet again, with the cars from the later Top Gear Africa special filmed in 2013 being rediscovered in Uganda. They have been posted by a user called Background Advanced 77, and we will put a link to his post in the description so you can check them out for yourselves. 3 cars from the special have been found. Jeremy's BMW 528i Touring, James May's Volvo 850R, not Richard's Subaru WRX wagon, but instead the Ford Scorpio Estate backup car. The Ford and the Volvo are still together, but they do not look in good shape at all. They look like they've sat there ever since the special was filmed in 2013. That once sweet Volvo 850R is now caked in clay dust, and what the hell has happened to the paint? It's got this weird camo thing going on now. It does not look good at all. The wheels are mismatching, but of course James did that himself when he annihilated a couple of the wheels in potholes near the end of part 2 of that series. The front of the car is also in absolute state. It's completely missing the front bumper, and the back right window is covered by a plastic sheet held in place by 2 rocks. I imagine that means it's been smashed in. The interior is disgusting. It needs a proper cleanse, but sitting up on the dashboard is an old school mobile phone. Maybe one of you guys can comment below with what model of mobile phone that is. Maybe it belongs to James. The good things, well, it has all its original panels back. It no longer has Richard's Subaru Scoop for a bonnet, and apparently the engine still runs, that lovely 5-cylinder turbo. Although many of you may not be too bothered by it, that Scorpio Estate is so rare these days, and it looks in better nick than the Volvo does. That's on the exterior anyway. On the interior, the seats are really badly ripped, and the post says that the car suffers from a lot of electrical faults. That's fairly predictable though, because if you remember, the car ended up at the bottom of a crocodile-infested river, so at least they pulled it back out. Now on to the BMW, and I'm not 100% sure this is the actual car. The registration plate now looks like a Ugandan plate, so maybe the car was re-registered after the filming, but a lot of work would have had to be put into that Beamer to make it look as stock as it now does. The original interior seems to be back in it, so there's no signs of any Egyptian cotton. The wheels look completely stock, and especially all the body parts are back to normal. Imagine how much work had to go back into that car after James May took tin snips to it, especially the passenger door. The post says that this Beamer, whether it's Jeremy's or not, is sitting in a compound in the town where the special started, and that the Volvo and the Ford are in a neighbouring town in Uganda. It then went on to say that there's been no sign of Richard's Subaru. But since then, there's been an update where he has been told that the Subaru is still driving around Uganda. That car has survived and has kept trucking. And people say Subarus are unreliable. The question is, what state is that Subaru in? Does it still have a toilet seat for a bonnet, a kitchen in the back, and is the rear window still made of wood after Jeremy cut it out? The main thing I'm interested in though is, these cars were 1,500 quid back in 2013. So how much are they worth now? It's quite hard to value the Beamer because there are so few 528i Tourings here in the UK. There's a bunch more in the US, and a nice manual one goes for around $10,000, so that's about £8,000 here. It's that weird middle of the road spec that no one seemed to go for. There's the 523 with the straight 6 and then the 540 up there with the V8. Everyone seems to forget about the 528, apart from Jeremy Clarkson, so it must be good. Richard's Subaru is the cheapest of the three, as you can get a WRX wagon for as little as £2,000 because it's not an STI like this. A nice, clean, low mileage one can work its way up towards 10 grand, but you can get a solid working car for just 2 grand. It's a bit of a bargain, really. The pick of the bunch for me, James's Volvo 850R, is much more towards the 528 side of the market. A couple of them sold on Collecting Cars recently for £5,000, but really nice ones can work their way up into the teens. I would 100% invest in a shabby old 850R that needed a bit of work, as it would fit my whole Mondeo and Rover vibe really nicely. Also, technically, under the bonnet, it's got half a twin turbo V10. So there's that. It's sad to think that cars from some specials simply get left behind like these ones. And as I covered in my video a couple of years ago on the original Top Gear Africa special, those cars shared the same fate, apart from Oliver. Thankfully, we've rescued Martin here and we're going to be getting him back in the game very soon. And hopefully this will become a feel-good story of what should happen to a TV car after it served its purpose on the big screen. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DRIVETRIBE. Martin, time for a makeover.